Hello and welcome to this conversation with Greg Friesen, Vice President of Product Management at Dragonwave. My name is Frank Raya. This conversation is part of a Sensafili report on small cell backhaul that gives an update on small cell backhaul solutions and on the evolution of mobile operators' requirements for small cell backhaul. Today we're talking to Greg Friesen, Vice President of Product Management at Dragonwave. And Dragonwave is a leader in microwave backhaul solutions that are being used by carriers and in other markets as well. Greg, thank you very much for joining us in this conversation here on small cell backhaul. I would like to kick this off by asking you to give us a brief overview of Dragonwave and then to go a little bit more in detail about your product solution, specifically that for small cell backhaul.
Okay, sure. Thank you very much, Frank. So Dragonwave is, as you mentioned, a leader in microwave backhaul, and we have products from the 2 gigahertz band all the way up to the 80 gigahertz bands. We have historically focused on all outdoor and packet microwave systems and have expanded on those in recent years with hybrid capabilities and split mount systems as well. We offer, as you mentioned, focus on mobile operators, but also have a large customer base in enterprises and vertical markets as well. As far as small cell goes, that's been a strong focus of ours over the past year or two. We have a number of products that have been announced over the past 2 years. The first was our Avenue Link product, which is a very small, compact product with an integrated antenna in the 24 to 60 gigahertz range, delivering over 500 megabits full duplex of capability. Next product, which we've just recently introduced this year, is the Avenue Link Lite product, which is our sub-6 gigahertz point-to-point product. Also a very small integrated package with antenna, available in the 2.3 to 5.8 gigahertz licensed and unlicensed bands. We view that as an important addition to the portfolio, where the Avenue Link provides very high capacity for aggregation links and sometimes for access links. The Avenue Link Lite is a very good complement to that by providing non-line of sight and near line of sight capabilities where there are obstructions in the path to help increase the network coverage.
Mm-hmm. So, Greg, that's interesting. If I may go and ask you a little bit about your Avenue Link product, if you can just give us a little bit some of the performance metrics of that product in terms of throughput capabilities and some of the other important parameters that you see operators are asking for and require for small cell deployments.
Okay, sure, yeah. So in terms of performance capabilities, the Avenue Link, as I mentioned, is in the 24 to 60 gigahertz band. Reach capabilities depend on the band, but go anywhere from 500 meters to a couple kilometers. Capacities are in excess of 500 megabits with support up to 2048 QAM. Very low delay at 0.1 milliseconds. Full Ethernet OANM capabilities and compression capabilities to further increase the traffic capacity beyond that 500 megabits. There is a bulk compression capability as part of the Avenue Link.
Mm-hmm. Now, the licensing regime and the spectrum regime for the 60 gigahertz is very different from the lower bands, and I believe maybe even some features of the product may be different. Can you elaborate a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so certainly the 60 gigahertz licensing regime, as you mentioned, in most places is an unlicensed band. So there's obviously benefits to that in that it means you can deploy very quickly and rapidly, and you don't have to acquire spectrum. There's no annual cost, so it helps improve the economics. The downside, of course, is that there can be interference. However, the interference environment is much different than some of the more traditional unlicensed bands like 5.8 gigahertz, in that in 60 gigahertz there isn't broad consumer use today. The beam width is very narrow, And in addition, the propagation distance is quite short because of the high air loss in this frequency band. So there is much less frequency and interference concern in this band than other unlicensed bands, and then there's much more spectrum. But nonetheless, it is still something that has to be engineered around.
Mm-hmm. So if I may ask you, how does your technology compares to technology solutions, let's say, from other vendors, first in the same band, and then I would go on and address other issues. But if you can just focus on how does your, let's say, 60 gigahertz and 24 and up gigahertz product compare to other solutions from other vendors?
So I think one of the key things in all those bands is that we've developed an integrated 5-inch antenna to have a very small, compact footprint. So we believe that that's very, very important in terms of deployability. As I mentioned, we support up to 2048 QAM at some of those lower bands and 512 QAM at the 60 gigahertz band, which is industry leading in this space. We also support the only bulk compression engine, which can provide 30% plus of capacity gain. So we feel we're quite differentiated in terms of capacity capabilities that also can enable you to use lower modulations because you've got the compressor without giving up throughput, which can help you increase your reach capabilities.
So I'm just curious, does the data compression work on a per traffic type, or is it works on all the data at the same time?
Yeah, so it is assignable per traffic. Basically, there are 4 compressors, and you can assign each of your 4 queues to a compressor to be compressed or not be compressed, or to different compression settings.
Mm-hmm. All right. And now, if you can jump over to the Avenue Link Lite and the sub-6 gigahertz product, and just address the different versions that you have and some of the capabilities, please.
Yeah, so the Avenue Link Lite is targeted more at the last mile of the microcell network. It has capacity capabilities up to 230 megabits. Supports near and non-line of sight deployments. Is fairly low latency as far as TDD systems go. So we've got 1 to 2 milliseconds latency for the system. Some of the things we've built in to differentiate it are of course, the delay we're focusing on and minimizing the PDV. We do cut through prioritization for timing packets. We also support 1588 transparent clock and SYNC, both of which we believe are quite important for deployment of LTE and LTE TDD networks.
All right, very good. Now, if you can address the frequency bands, because I think I heard you saying that you have the product in the 2 gigahertz bands in addition to the 5 gigahertz band.
That's right, yeah. So we've just released the product. The first band that we're releasing that's just becoming generally available is the 5 gigahertz band, so 4.9 to 5.8 gigahertz. The next band, which we'll be releasing early fall, is the 3.5 gigahertz, and we'll be following that up with the 2.3 to 2.6 gigahertz bands at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm. And what is the maximum channel bandwidth that you can do in that product?
Yes, we support user-selectable channel bandwidths from 5 to 40 megahertz.
5 to 40, very good. So what are you hearing from the operators when it comes down to deployment issues, and how do the products that you have address the deployment issues?
Well, I think one of the things we're hearing is it's not a one-size-fits-all at all in terms of small cell backhaul. And that's why you can see we've got a pretty wide breadth of products and solutions. Some operators own 3.5 gigahertz spectrum, and so that can be something very attractive to them. Some own 2 gigahertz spectrum. Some are willing to deploy an unlicensed, and others aren't, and that may be 5.8 unlicensed or perhaps 60 gigahertz unlicensed. And then some have bands in the 24 to 38 gigahertz band. So you maybe have 26 gigahertz spectrum or 38 gigahertz spectrum. But certainly, and a lot of that will vary by market and even location in the market. So we're looking, and operators are looking to us to provide a complete solution that they can use in many areas of their network. And that means more than just a good 60 gigahertz product or just a 5.8 gigahertz product, but a wide toolkit and solution set that can help them deploy a wide network in many areas.
Yeah, I think that's going to be one of the major challenges, I guess, in terms of scaling also small cell deployments. If different also solutions have to be deployed in different scenarios. So how does the products that you have, for example, how do you help the operators in terms of minimizing the deployment timelines and in making the deployment and the design faster?
Yeah, so a couple things we're doing there. One is all of these products have very similar capabilities in terms of Ethernet capabilities. They're all managed by a single management system, our Dragonview management system, which enables end-to-end provisioning. We've made the systems have a fairly wide beam width, wider than some of the traditional systems to simplify alignment. We've built in a number of alignment and commissioning tools to simplify deployment. Going forward, our future vision is to do more integration with base station vendors, and we've started that discussion with some of the key players to be able to have maximize the reuse of all resources and have a single install rather than two separate installs when you're taking up a base station and a backhaul link.
And when it comes to integration, do you think all solutions will be considered, or will there be a focus, let's say, on a specific band or a specific type of solution, let's say line of sight or point-to-point versus point-to-multipoint? Any ideas on that?
I think for the same reasons I discussed earlier, that we won't be, although it would be ideal to be able to focus on a single band, we haven't found a way to. We think we'll need to offer a pretty wide set of solutions. There may be some that we can hit that are higher volume that we target more integration on, that maybe are more suitable for integration, but we certainly see and believe the base station vendors seem to have a common vision that we will need a wide set of solutions and won't be able to just integrate with one product only.
Mm-hmm. Now, if I may go and ask a bit of a technical question maybe, but the 2048 QAM, I hear, I'm not an expert in this space, but I hear a lot of people talking whether it's useful or not useful, on the benefits of having it. So can you comment on that, and what's your view on that?
Well, so certainly you're right. 2048 QAM has a reduction in system gain, so that results in a reduction in link range. In small cell, though, you're not that link range constrained, especially in the 24 to 38 gigahertz bands. When you have a 400 meter link, and the capabilities of these bands are well beyond that. So it fits actually quite well in the small cell, and it can provide about a 30% increase in throughput. Even in longer links, because we have hitless adaptive modulation, we can allow the user to take the benefit of these higher modulations during clear periods when there is no rain, which is 99% of the time. And then the system will switch down during heavier rain back to what you would have been operating at regularly in a 256 QAM or 128 QAM. So it's really just taking advantage of those good weather conditions, which is most of the time, and increasing your throughput during those periods.
Mm-hmm. Now, when it comes to operator requirements for small cells, my feeling is that there's been a bit of confusion or still a bit of searching for really what we need to have for small cells in terms of availability, latency, throughput. From your point of view in discussing with the different vendors, what do you see are the key requirements, and how have you addressed them in your product line?
Yeah, so I completely agree with you. I believe that there is still a lot of confusion, and I don't think it's just confusion. I think that the spec varies a lot by operator. So taking one of the parameters that you discussed as an example, availability. So Many operators have gone and said, well, it's part of my mobile, a small cell is part of my mobile network, and therefore I expect the same backhaul availability for my small cell network as my mobile network. And so I want 4 nines or 5 nines on this small cell network. And that drives all sorts of things like battery backup, redundancy, etc. Other operators look at it differently, and they say, well, I have redundancy already in that I already have coverage in this area, and this is really augmentation and capacity increase to my coverage. So my redundancy is the macro network. It doesn't need to be through the backhaul and the small cell network, and therefore I'd much rather optimize cost on this network, not have redundancy, and accept a lower availability, maybe a 3 nines, maybe even a 2 nines and 5. So I'm willing to look at different parameters. So certainly, on availability, I don't think there's a right answer. I think each operator has a different mentality here and a different perspective, and we're working to support all of those. In terms of delay, you do see ranges in delay, but typically from the operator, we're seeing fairly low delay numbers. Typically they're targeting 5 to 10 millisecond end-to-end delay across the entire backhaul network, and so that may mean multiple hops through Ethernet switches, maybe even through some fiber as well. So certainly, we're seeing that fairly common. Capacity, we also see a very wide range in capacity, and so you see anywhere from someone saying, I just want best effort just to be able to have my cell working, so even 5-10 megabits will work. Others are saying, no, I'm using this as a capacity increase strategy, and I need at least 100 plus megabits per site. So we do see a very wide range, and we're certainly working towards covering the higher end of that range. We believe that even if the capacity isn't expected to be there short term, that long term the operator is going to grow into it.
Yeah, I think these are tough issues, and I think it has a lot to do with the way small cells are deployed and the coordination aspects between the macro cell layer and the small cell layer. So we'll see how these things will develop. If I may shift a little bit and talk more about the total cost of ownership for small cell deployments and specifically the backhaul. What are your thoughts? I mean, we see a lot of the backhaul solutions, like in my opinion, while base stations have been reduced significantly in cost, going from, let's say, a 3-sector site to a single sector site, much lower power, microwave, or not just microwave, but backhaul solutions across the entire band are pretty much the same thing still. Do you think there is a significant issue here related to cost, and how can the industry move forward and address that, and how are you trying to address that with your products?
Yeah. So first of all, I think if we look at Dragonwave, we certainly have seen the average selling price go down quite a bit, and our costs go down quite a bit over the past 10 years. Definitely double digits per year. So there has been a reduction. That said, that's certainly not enough for a small cell. We're not looking for tens of % here. We're looking for 3 to 5 times difference, sometimes more. So a significant reduction, and we view there as being about 3 key areas to address this. One is the site costs, so the cost of site leases, site acquisition, etc. We believe that the best way to address that is through a very small, low-weight solution, and that's what we're targeting and what we've built. The second is the actual equipment cost, so we're working to optimize that, although that's one of the smaller portions of the total cost of ownership. And then in addition to that, as part of which often gets lumped in with that equipment cost, the CapEx is the spectrum cost. So by having a flexible array of spectrum options, we're looking to allow the operator to minimize their spectrum costs. And the third and probably most important is the operation cost. So the cost of deploying and maintaining the network. And so certainly by simplifying the solution, doing as much integration as possible, providing as much Ethernet OEM as possible, we're certainly trying to minimize that by offering an end-to-end visibility in our management system, and very simple installation. So all three areas we're going after, we believe the most important are the OpEx area. That's the most important. Second most important is the space and site costs, and then third most important is the capex costs.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks for that. So, in terms of future evolution of your product line, how do you see that evolving, and what are some of the key features that you plan to introduce in the future?
Yeah. So, obviously, the one that everyone I think talks about is size, weight, and cost. So we'll be looking to optimize around that as new technologies come out, new chipsets, etc., come out, and there's more integration on a chipset. We'll be looking to leverage that and get our product smaller and minimize the cost. So that I think is a pretty obvious step for everyone in the industry. The other more important one that there's not necessarily as clear an answer on, but I hinted at is the minimizing the OpEx and installation costs. So making it very simple to deploy, improving, simplifying alignment, automating alignment, and automating realignment if it gets put out of line. So optimizing that OpEx and installation time and cost is a very important focus of ours, and you'll probably see us bringing out multiple features to minimize that cost.
Very good. All right. Anything else that you would like to add in terms of as final thoughts on your product line and how you see the market evolving, the small cell market?
Well, I think our final thoughts are that we believe we're at the infancy of this market, and we're at the infancy of the solutions for this market. I think there haven't been any large, wide-scale deployments to date. There have been some small deployments, more of what I would call test deployments than any large, wide-scale deployments. So us, as well as others, have all built products that are targeted at what we think the market requirement is, but I don't think anyone really knows yet because there hasn't been a wide-scale deployment to really see the challenges of street-level backhaul, which is really what we're facing here. And I think as we see the challenges of street-level backhaul on a wide scale, it's going to shape the operators' network architectures as well as the product solutions we need to offer to optimize their network architectures. So we strongly believe we're at the very early stage of this, that we've got a good solution for what we know about today, but that solution is probably going to have to evolve into things we don't even know and solve problems we don't even know exist yet.
All right, very good. Thank you, Greg, very much for this conversation. This was Greg Friesen with Dragonwave. This conversation is part of Senza Fili report on small cell backhaul that provides an overview of the small cell backhaul solutions along with an in-depth conversation like this from leading vendors who opted to participate in the report. The report can be downloaded from the Senza Fili website at www.senza-fili.com. Thank you for listening in, and Greg, thanks again for this conversation.
Thank you,
so my name is Frank Rayal, and thank you and goodbye.